Hi, welcome to our daily encounter. Today in Deuteronomy chapter 20, starting in verse 1, we have a very beautiful message and a very encouraging message that we can draw from and apply to our lives today. It says, "When you go out to battle against your enemies and see horses and chariots and people more numerous than you, do not be afraid of them, for the Lord your God who brought you up from the land of Egypt is with you." Here, Moses is encouraging the people because they are about to go over the Jordan and go into a land where they would encounter people more numerous than them. They were going to go up against fortified cities. It was going to be virtually impossible if you leave out God. If it was just left to them, it would seem like an insurmountable task, an impossible task. But Moses is telling them, hey, when you see this, when you see your enemies, don't be afraid, because God is with you. In other words, don't be like the previous generation who sent out the spies and they came back with the evil report saying, hey, these guys we're like grasshoppers before them. There's no way we can overtake them. And they just discouraged everybody to the point that they didn't want to enter the land. He's saying, no, trust, have faith that God is with you. And the God that is with you is larger than the army that you're up against. And so you should be encouraged by that. And the application for us in our lives is that sometimes when we look at life, when we look at our nation and our society, we might begin to think, hey, this is too big. This is too big of an issue. A lot of times we look at our nation and just think, wow, look where things are going. Everything's going downhill morally. Everything is just going awry. And we are fearful for our future. We're fearful for ourselves, fearful for our children. And we just think that the future is very, very bleak. Well, we need to remember that our God is with us. And our God will sustain us, and our God is strong enough to help us to overcome. But not only on a national level, but on a personal level. As we look around our lives sometimes, or look at our lives, sometimes we see situations and circumstances and problems that just seem too big. They're just too big for us. We feel a bit overwhelmed, whether it's marital problems, financial problems, relational problems, you name it. We go up against these things and we just think, wow, there's no way I can overcome this. Or we might think of temptation in our lives, temptations that have been a stronghold in us for so long that we feel like they're so deeply rooted in us that we can never overcome them. Well, we need the same message that the Israelites needed in their day. We need to not be afraid because our God is with us. And He is bigger than our problems. So many times we view our problems as bigger than God. Maybe we won't verbalize or think of it, consciously think of it that way, but subconsciously that's what we're basically saying. We're saying that my problem is bigger than the God I serve. And we should not, of course, have that attitude. But the second thing that we need in our lives is people who can bring positive reinforcement into our lives, encouraging words into our lives. This is what the priests were to do for the Israelites at this time. In verse 2 it says, "When you are approaching the battle, the priest shall come near and speak to the people. He shall say to them, 'Hear, O Israel, you are approaching the battle against your enemies today. Do not be faint-hearted. Do not be afraid or panic, or tremble before them, for the Lord your God is the one who goes with you to fight for you against your enemies to save you.'" And so they needed people speaking these truths into their lives. They needed people giving them those encouraging words. Hey, don't be faint-hearted. Don't panic. The God that we serve will go out and fight for us. And He will allow us to overcome. And so in our personal lives, we need to surround ourselves with people who can speak these encouraging words to us. As I look at a lot of messages that are being sent out, via Facebook, or even messages being given to the church by preachers and other church leaders. When they talk about the nation and they talk about the situation of our society, it's always very, very negative. Whoa, our country is destined towards destruction because of the moral decline in our nation. There's no way we can make it back to the godly society we once were. And they speak these defeated messages that are very similar to the 10 spies that came back from the promised land giving the negative report. Well, you know what? We might as well just, woe is us. We might as well just give up. Our nation is headed towards destruction. Instead of saying, hey, yeah, things look bad. When we look at our nation, things do look bad. Don't want to ignore what is real. But at the same time, our God is bigger than these things. And we serve a God who can spark a revival at any moment. A God who is strong enough to empower us to make an impact in the nation in which we live. But then also in our personal lives, we need people who can encourage us when we're down, when we are overwhelmed, when life seems too difficult. We need to surround ourselves with those people who can say, hey, things are difficult, but we serve an awesome God, and a God who can help us through our trials, a God who can calm the storm, a God strong enough to overcome, to help us overcome. And we need to be those type of people for others, to help them and encourage them. And so this is what we can walk away with from these verses. That we need to recognize the fact that we have a God that's way bigger than any problems that we have. He is the creator of the universe, the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords, the supreme being. And nothing is too big for him. And we need to walk through life with that trust and with that confidence. And then we need to share that trust and confidence with others, and then also glean that trust and confidence from others in our lives, so that we as Christians can begin to live a life of faith and a life that overcomes, and a life that is not afraid or shrieks back from opposition or trials or difficulties. So hopefully this video has been helpful to you. Hopefully it's been encouraging. I do thank you guys for watching the video. Hope you guys have a great day. Love you guys. God bless.